All right, so today is Wednesday, the 17th of September 2025. Good morning, Mr. Ken Odini, Isaac John, Bello Luafemi Mohammed, Maureen, Madam Onaji, Mr. Honor Nelson, and every other person. Good morning to you all. So today is filled with a lot of fundamental events, and as such, I was advised we trade with a lot of caution, a lot and a lot of caution. Good morning, Mr. Frank Binga. So early this morning, just about some 30 minutes ago, there was CPI from United Kingdom. The data came out actual equal to forecast, so we didn't expect much reaction on that. But then there are other fundamental events today, and as such, I think we should just focus more on the fundamentals today, because today is just full of the fundamental events all through. By 8:30 a.m., there'll be ECB President Lagarde speech. So be very careful around the euro. Though most times speeches can even cut across virtually all financial assets. So I rather encourage that we're careful of placing any trade, around that period, around that 8:30 a.m. this morning. By 2:45 p.m., there'll be news from Canada. Bank of Canada restatement, overnight rates, still talking about both of them is talking about interest rates. So there'll be interest rate decision from Canada by 2:45 p.m. today. And by 3:30 p.m., there will still be another event from Canada. That is BOC press conference. That's Bank of Canada press conference. Then later today by 7 p.m., there'll be federal funds rate, FOMC economic projections, FOMC statement. This is FOMC, that is still talking about interest rates, but in the United States. I've always emphasized that some of these data, economic data release, the names may vary from country to country, but then the primary objective is still the same. You may have it as interest rate in Canada, you have it as FOMC in the US, it's still the same thing. FOMC simply stands for Federal Open Market Committee, and that's a committee within the Fed that decides on interest rates in the United States of America. So 7:30 p.m. there'll be FOMC press conference. Then later today by 11:45 p.m. there'll be GDP, that's gross domestic product. So today's activity field. So like I said earlier, we need to trade with a lot of caution. Now I'll quickly move over to the chart and show us some of the technicals I'm seeing on the chart, which we need to also mind, as the fundamental eventually unfolds as the day, as we make progress into the day. Now, from the technical angle, I'll start with the dollar index. And dollar index currently is trading at a support level on the daily time frame. This is support on the daily. And this is an indication of a possible reversal. So in the course of the day, especially the dollar business, but the dollar news FOMC, which will come up later today, but possibly in the course of the day, we may see some volatility on dollar and we may see some minor bullish movement. Though the major move of dollar will be later in the evening when we have the FOMC. But between and then, we may have some slight movement. But nonetheless, we'll be looking strictly at buying the US dollar. And to further clarify that, I'll check the USDCHF. Now, for the USDCHF, the dollar index just shows us the general direction of the dollar. We now need to check it, for proper entry on the specific trades to take when we check the major currency pairs like GBP USD, Euro USD, and USDCHF, and the others. So this is the USDCHF. Price has been trending low. These are lower lows, and this is the third time price is touching the trend line for a lower low. So technically, we'll look for a bullish movement. And at a closer look also, I'm also saying this might give us the formation of what looks a lot like possibly an inverse head and shoulder pattern. But then let's just take that on one side of our hand and rather focus on the bullish direction first. Patterns can come up later. So I'm seeing the possibility of a bullish movement on the USDCHF on the weekly time frame, and it's still confirmed on the daily, but they will go down to 1 hour time frame. Now, this is how I believe this may happen. Price may still retrace to retest this trend line before finally giving us the breakout. So that may end up forming something that looks a lot like a double bottom before we have the actual breakout. So let's watch out in the course of today. Price may retest the trend line and break out again to form a double bottom pattern. If that happens and a new candle opens above the tip there, which is the neckline region, then that can be an indication to trigger a buy on the USD CHF, and also confirm with your RSI to be clearly above 50, when that happens. So we're bullish on the USD CHF. And likewise, a currency pair like Euro USD, it's anti the dollar. So if you're bullish on the dollar index, bullish on the USD CHF, we will likely be bearish on the Euro USD. And this is an indication of our bearish outlook on the Euro USD. Now, this is the Euro USD on the monthly time frame. Price making a series of lower high, lower high, lower high, and price is here at this point. Technically, we expect some reversal right there on the Euro USD. But then let's take it down to the weekly. Now you can see that the candle is not completely touching the trend line. So that tells us we still have a room for a slight bullish movement before we start talking about a reversal. So price may still go up on this one before we see the drop. But whichever way the market goes, we're more concerned about looking for an opportunity to sell. Now, don't be in a hurry to enter a sell. I'm only giving you analysis. There's no clarity for entry for any of these instruments as at this time that we speak. We're only giving you an analysis of the potential direction they are expected to go to. So for the Euro USD, like I said, I expect price to still try to make its way up, then now finally break out. So at the point of the breakout, you can look for entry in the bearish direction after confirming your RSI to be clearly below 50. So we're bearish on the Euro USD. And likewise, we're bearish on the GBP USD. Now for the GBP USD, this is a weekly time frame. Price is trading around a resistance zone on the weekly time frame. So price is back to that resistance. Technically, we're looking for a decline in price. And I'll just go straight to the 4-hour. Nothing much on the 4-hour. This is a 1-hour. Price is trading within that resistance zone. So I'll just be looking for a breakout in price in the course of today. It may go up or not. It doesn't matter. It's already within the resistance zone. What matters is price breaking out below the resistance zone, and we'll look for an opportunity to sell. And final confirmation is our RSI below 50. So we're bearish on the GBP USD. Next I'll look at is the New Zealand USD. Now this one is giving us some very good confluence, a confluence setup. Price is trending downwards on the daily time frame. All right, so we can see there's a downtrend on the daily time frame. Oh, sorry, this is a weekly. This is a weekly time frame. You can see price has been descending, lower highs, lower highs. So technically, we're looking for a bearish movement, which is in line with our expectation of the dollar because we're bullish on the dollar. So a pair like New Zealand USD will be facing the downward direction. And that's weekly outlook. On the daily, we have a confluence of a resistance around this point. So this further confirms, the potential bearish direction we are seeing on this instrument. And on 4-hour, we have the rising wedge pattern, which is still an indication of a bearish movement. So this one can be traded two ways, either as a 1-hour or as a 4-hour. 1-hour will be intraday, and the 4-hour outlook will be a swing. But then I know majority of us are actually intraday traders. So let's go down to the 1-hour time frame. So this is it on the 1-hour. It's the same setup as 4-hour, only entry may be faster on the 1-hour. Once the new candle breaks out below this current level, RSI is already below 50, though still just slightly below at 48. I want to see it drop to like 45. Then if that happens, we can trigger a sell on the 1-hour on New Zealand USD. However, if you're a swing trader, you need to exercise a little more, caution or a little more patience for a new candle to open clearly below the trend line Now you now see that this is actually forming a head and a shoulder. That's an additional information, and your RSI needs to be clearly below 50. So for swing traders, you need to exercise more patience and more caution compared to the intraday traders. But for either of the style of trading, we are bearish on the New Zealand USD. All right, we'll look at the Euro JPY next. Then I'll check gold and we'll be done. Now for the Euro JPY on the daily time frame, we can clearly see that this instrument is around a resistance zone on the daily. This is a resistance, resistance, resistance. Technically, we should expect a decline in price. And on the 4 hour, it's still valid. The resistance is still valid with a rising wedge pattern, which is still pointing us downwards. So again, this one can be traded either as an intraday or possibly as a swing. So if it's a swing, you wait for the 4 hour breakout with RSI clearly below 50. But then if you want to trade it as intraday, then you will go down to 1 hour time frame. And this is a 1 hour version. So on the 1 hour, price is trying to make what looks a lot like a head and shoulder, and we anticipate a breakout at this point downwards. So you may look at selling if price breaks out below this region. But then if you're there, you're a scalper, there's still a version for you, and that's the 15 minutes time frame. Now, on the 15 minutes time frame, that is not looking clear now, but I'll flip back to the 1 hour to get clarity. Now, the 1 hour, I said, is trying to form a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder. So if price breaks out below the neckline, it will target this lower trend line here. Now that is just good enough for a scalper to catch some early morning pips to the tune of about 20 pips, safely 15 to 20 pips is possible. So if you're there, a scalper, just watch out, okay, if you can't go to 15 minutes, I think 30 minutes should still be safe also. 30 minutes should be safe for you as a scalper. Wait for a new candle to open below this level and trigger a sell. RSI too should be below 50, but then you're looking for just between 15 to 20 pips profit. So you can see this Euro JPY works for virtually all trading styles, either as a scalper, a day trader, or a swing trader. And finally, I'll look at gold. Now, gold made a record high yesterday by hitting psychological level at $3,700 per ounce. Now, I've given this analysis right from about a month now, saying it consistently that gold is projected to hit $3,700 per ounce before the year runs out, and we're just still in September, and it has hit it already. That's actually a major milestone. But then on hitting this level, psychological levels are round figures and they can as well act as resistance levels. So price hit this level yesterday and then, gold just slowed down. Can see the massive move up here in the last couple of weeks. It's just been trending up right from the time price made a break above this resistance zone here. It's just been moving massively, up. But then I think it may cool down a little with this psychological level acting as a resistance. Though except if hostilities, increase in major countries around the world that are having political tension, especially Israel and the Middle East, US also and Russia, if there's no hostility around these nations, gold may just calm down for now and enter into a retracement mode. But then on the daily time frame, sorry, on the 1 hour rather, I'm seeing a head and shoulder being formed, indicating the possibility for a decline on gold. So I'll draw the neckline region here, and price seems to be, trying to make its way downwards. Now, this is also in line with our outlook on the dollar, which we said is bullish. So if the dollar is bullish, then an instrument like gold may be bearish. But we should not also neglect the fact that there's a minor support here that price needs to break for us to see a further decline on gold. So our advice, if you're to trade gold today, wait for price to clearly break out below this minor support. Yeah, it's a head and shoulder, but then we're seeing a little minor support there. So if you know kind of open below this region, RSI is already below 50, so that's already finding its way into the bearish side. And also MACD is about to cross below zero. We just need a clear breakout with a new candle forming below this support, then you can trigger a sell on gold. And if you trigger a sell on gold, price will likely hit this region here, that previous resistance turn support. It's a possible level. But all this also will determine, will depend a lot also on the outcome of the FOMC later today. But before then, we expect some slight technical movement before the news is released later today by 7 p.m. So I anticipate price dropping if price is able to break out below the support zone and hitting some good levels there, possibly before the FOMC. So I'm bearish on gold. I'm bearish on gold. All right, so I'll take a few questions that we have here and we'll round up for this morning analysis session. So Tochiro is asking that what about GBP JPY? Bello Oluwafemi is asking BTC USD. If you answer them, just ask about gold. I just gave him my outlook on gold and bearish on gold. And Billions Unlimited is asking about AUD card and USD card. And Peter Chooks is asking about DJ30. All right, so let's take it one after the other. So we'll start with the GBP JPY. Now, most of the card pairs didn't really move so well yesterday because the data that came out was not so much as expected. So that didn't give much room for movement on the card pairs. But then there's still another news from Canada today. Possibly that will trigger, movement in our expected direction. Now, for the GBP JPY, so this is GBP JPY on the daily time frame. We have a resistance level here, and a new candle did not break out above that resistance. And the candles, these two candles at tweezer top are closed yesterday. So technically, we should be looking for a bearish movement on GBP JPY today. On the 4 hour, I'm seeing the formation of a rising wedge. RSI is already below 50. Mark this about to cross. Price may retrace a little, then break out. So we're bearish on the GBP, but this is a swing setup. So it's on 4 hour. We may see some retracement. It may happen or not. It may just break out outrightly. But anytime a new candle breaks out below this support, and maybe below this level, we can look at taking the sell on GBP. Again, it's a swing. So trade with caution and proper risk management. BTC USD. Now, my forecast for BTC for quite some time is a bullish one, and price, and can't remember, but I think I was anticipating a breakout below here, but it didn't happen. So price still went back up to that bullish direction, which has been the overall direction so far for some time. And finally, price has hit the resistance level back. All right, it's back to this resistance level. So at this point, one of two things will happen. Price may drop, or if the volatility is strong, price may break out, retest, and continue higher. One of these two is possible. But then if I look at BTC on a bigger picture, coupled with my outlook on XRP, there's a possibility that BTC is trying to do some head and shoulder and a dump. That's actually what I'm looking at. But then we never can tell. The dynamics of the market can change and price may break out above this region. So we're actually in between a buy and sell on BTC at the moment. So trade with a lot of caution. So let's take it down to 4 hour time frame and 1 hour. Okay, on all the time frames, I'm not seeing any setup that can give us a clear entry. We need to just watch with caution and see how the market unfolds. But it's actually in between a buy to the upside or a sell, and the sell will be a massive dump. There's been some online recently. There's been some, people giving some analysis that BTC is about to dump or not. Well, we never can tell. Let's just watch and see. And like I said, what is actually giving me that outlook of a possible bearish movement is what I saw on XRP on the is it the weekly or monthly time frame? Let me confirm again. On the monthly, yeah, on the monthly time frame. XRP seems to be forming some kind of a double top pattern, on the monthly time frame, and that actually is not giving me a good vibe because if this month closes again around this resistance level, we may be getting ready for a massive long-term bearish movement on XRP. And that's, gold, sorry, did I say gold? BTC, is actually the driver of all these things, but it's a lot clearer on XRP. And that's why for the BTC, what I'm seeing is a formation of what looks a lot like the head and shoulder on the daily time frame, which may lead to that drop also. But let's just still watch and see what happens. For now, our focus is what happens around here, whether we see a drop or a breakout. So when we see clarity, we'll let you know. You're welcome to Churu and Bello Oluwafemi. All right, AUD card, USD card, DJ30, Euro card also. USD card, yeah, I remember telling us yesterday we have a downtrend, a head and shoulder, but don't forget there's a dollar news today, so trade this kind of instrument with a lot of caution. There's FOMC later in the evening, there's card news in the afternoon. The outcome is what will determine the direction of the USD card. So is it those news that will determine what will happen? I will advise don't trade USD card technically today. Just ignore anything technical. Look more for the fundamental. Technically, what I'm seeing is the head and shoulder, but that's if the fundamental aligns with it. Just like I said yesterday, if the data comes out bad for the dollar and good for the card, we'll see the breakout. Otherwise, price may just if the data comes out good for the dollar and bad for the card, we may see a retracement. So for now, I can't give you any direct outlook, until the data is released for USD card. For Euro card, we were anticipating a reversal also, but then price seems to be making a new high. This is Euro card on the daily time frame. So if the data comes out bad for card today, price may climb higher. If it comes out good, we may see a reversal. So, nothing at the moment. What I said yesterday is if price breaks out below this low, we see a movement downwards. But then the data that came out was not in that direction. Currently, we're seeing price making a new high. So just ignore these two currency pairs for now. And for AUD card, AUD card, okay, that's the next one. It's going according to direction, but it's ranging. It's not having sufficient volatility to drive price. The analysis came out correctly, head and shoulder, breakouts, resistance, trend line, everything is okay. But then somehow the volatility is not there. Possibly today, if the news if the news from Canada is released and if the data comes out good for the card, we may see a sharp decline in AUD card. Very possible. But at this moment, all I'm seeing is a range. So let's just mark this region as a range like we did. I mean, just to indicate it. So if a new candle breaks out below, especially when the news is released, then you can trigger a sell. The direction is still bearish, but like I said, for now, the volatility is not just there to drive price. But during news release, volatility enters the market. So just watch out. We're still bearish. If the data comes out good, take note of what I'm saying, please. If the data comes out good for the card that is actual greater than forecast, it will be an indication to sell the AUD card. Okay, so I'll take the J30 and all right, Isaac Jones. Sir, please, is it possible to form an account less than $100? It's not too advisable, but if that's what you have, well, you can get started with that. And I really want to know the specifics. If you say less than $100, $80 is less, $70 is less. But if I found in anything like $50 thereabout, I will advise you do a cent account. So I'll suggest you do, even if it's $60, $70, still do a cent account. It will be safer for you. So you can get across your account manager so that he or she can guide you on how to open a cent account. Okay, so I'll look at crude oil and you're welcome, sir. Crude oil and which other one? DJ30, and I think I'll be ending the class there. All right, so this is a DJ30. You're welcome, Billions Unlimited. All right, so we're not seeing the corresponding trend line or resistance on a higher time frame, but nonetheless, what I have here on the 4 hour is a rising wedge pattern, and we have a resistance which is turning support here. So technically, I should be looking for price to trend upwards on DJ30 on the 4 hour time frame, except if there's a lot of volatility to break price out downwards. So the first direction we should look at, though it's a short-term one, should be the upside direction. So my focus will be on the breakout to the upside, and we can look for entry on a lower time frame, maybe 1 hour or 15 minutes. Okay, this is a 1 hour side. It's trying to form a double bottom, which may trigger, an upside movement. So you can draw a trend line to capture the breakout. And that's like a falling wedge here again. So you may wait for price to break out above the neckline and above this trend line to trigger a buy on DJ30. So we're bullish on DJ30 on the 1 hour. And if your preferred time frame is 15 minutes, let's go down again. If your preferred time frame is 15 minutes, it's still the same thing. Double bottom, a bullish breakout. Neckline, it's still the same thing, either 1 hour, 15 minutes. Let there be a clear breakout above this region, and your RSI should be clearly above the RSI. Price should be above RSI. Sorry, RSI should be clearly above 50. Pardon me. So it's still the same thing. Either you're using 1 hour or 15 minutes. It's still the same breakout principle will make use of. So we're bullish on DJ30, and finally, I'll check the US oil. Okay, please, Fabulous, kindly chat with me privately about this request. I won't be able to do it now, and I don't want to forget. So send me a private chat to, of exactly what you posted there. Just send it to me privately. You're asking to drop the recording on the class held on 30th August regarding best time frame. So just send it to me on my WhatsApp privately. Okay, so like I said, I'll take the US oil and we'll close this session there. All right, so this is the US oil on the daily time frame. Price hits a support zone right here on the daily, but then we have price trending downwards here likewise. So price is actually in between buying and selling. On one angle, price could retest this trend line. On another angle, price could break out. So we're in between a buy and a sell. So whichever the direction that's it happened. Okay, is there a breakout already? Looks like there's already a breakout on 4 hour. Let me confirm again. Okay, there is a breakout already. There's a breakout already. All right, so let's go down to the 4 hour time frame. There's a breakout. Okay, we have a clear breakout already. So, but then it still depends because we have quite some number of news events today, especially from Canada. Canada is one of the large energy generating companies we have in the world. So any news from Canada could also affect crude oil. And later today we have a news from United States that could also affect crude oil. But then technically this is looking bullish. Technically it's looking bullish. So this is what I will advise. If you want to trade this, it's on swing, it's on 4 hour time frame. Wait for a new candle to break out above that minor resistance zone. That is when you can trigger a buy once a new candle opens above that region. RSI is clearly above 50, MACD is above 0, so it's actually in an uptrend zone. But we're just waiting for a clearer entry because price may still drop to test the trend line, so you can't enter a buy now until a new candle breaks out above that resistance zone. All right, that will be the end of my analysis this morning. Do trade safe and have a great day ahead.
Good
Bye
morning,
bye.
sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And please, can we take your analysis on DJ30 to be the same with NAS 100?
Let me confirm.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I said something that for that DJ30, I didn't see a corresponding trend line or resistance to confirm the trend, but it looks like we have one. It's not really touching. That's the okay. Let me get lower. Okay, okay. We have a higher eye, and we have a trend line right here. Okay. Okay, they may not be the same thing, and maybe you might need to put more attention on this NAS 100. Now, NAS 100, if I zoom it bigger, closed as a rejection candle yesterday. This is a very clear-cut rejection candle. Now, this is where both of them may be similar. It's possible. Now, potentially, NAS 100 is looking more bearish, but then there's a possibility that we will have a slight buy before the sell because there's been a range. When you have a range like that in this kind of direction, it will first go up before. So this range will align NAS 100 with what is happening on DJ30, but then eventually NAS 100 is going to crash and DJ30 may follow suit. I said it for that DJ32, the upside movement is a short-term one, which is what I'm seeing on NAS 100. But for this NAS 100, a crash is much more imminent compared to what we saw on the NAS on the DJ30. So for this one, I would say just look out for more of a sell. For the DJ30, look for a slight buy. But for this particular one, your direction should be a sell. Just wait for price to break out below this, and you'll experience a massive sell on the NAS 100. So DJ30 slight buy, NAS 100 a major sell. So let's take note of that.
Thank you very much, sir. God
You're
bless
welcome.
you.
Amen, man. You
Thank
too,
you,
man.
sir.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for all the comments being dropped from everybody. Just appreciate you. So we're going to end the analysis here, and I'll make sure I drop the link so that you can watch the video again. For those who joined us a bit late, just just take your time to watch through the video and get a clearer insight into what we have done this morning. All right, so just take care and have a great day ahead. Bye bye.
Bye, sir. Have a great day.
You too, man.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir.
You're welcome.